Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is Saturday, December 4th, 2021. This is my very first video commentary on YouTube about current events of our time, so bear with me as I stream through this presentation. I will touch briefly on neighborhoods, businesses, communities, society, and global events relating to this still current health crisis. Ever since this health crisis began, everything has went through a very dramatic, drastic change on every level socially, economically, politically, and globally. There seems to be a convolutional, circumambulatory chain of political events affecting our everyday lives for those of us living in democratic societies as free citizens. The subtle constraints on some of what we view as our freedoms seem to be slipping away gradually. There are some social, grassroots movements out there in an attempt to counteract this phenomenon, but some have more influence than others. After this presentation, pay a visit to Discovering Modern Political Systems Analysis and check out the latest politics. Depending upon where you live, your neighborhood is either relatively stable or sucking to the effects of the lockdowns, restrictions, and gradual signs of decay due to this health crisis. Some neighborhoods have managed to hold themselves and their communities together while others seem to be coming apart little by little. Neighborhoods still like places where good and bad things can happen. Communities have been trying to hold everything together. They have been attempting to protect themselves socially, economically, and politically, depending on their location. Some have done a great service to themselves, yet others are barely holding on. The social distancing practices throughout the community's local businesses seem to be here to stay as we go about our daily lives. The biggest challenge now is keeping these small businesses alive because they are an integral part of their respective communities that they serve. Due to this health crisis that brought about a resulting economic downward spiral, there has been a massive involuntary exodus of small businesses. They provide jobs, pay taxes, and provide employment. If we don't protect these businesses from the economic downturn, there will be no economic recovery. This is why we must support small businesses and their owners when they fail to meet their financial goals due to this health crisis. Small businesses are essential to our economy and must be supported by all Americans, not just those who work for them. Small business owners are the backbone of our economy, and we cannot afford to ignore them. Small businesses are critical to our economy, and they need our help. The economy has been in a recession since 2008, but it's now trying to recover from the current health crisis. We need to be able and willing to use every opportunity to help the local small businesses that are left. If we don't support our local small businesses, and our local economies will genuinely suffer. I think that the government should provide more effective stimulus packages for small businesses in the future. The government should have contingency plans to prevent large-scale small business shutdowns from occurring and keep people working. If you look at the unemployment rate in America last year, it is very high. People were hardly able to live on their own. They relied on government assistance programs, grants, and charities for food, shelter, and clothing. If people had barely had enough money to buy food or shelter due to the small business shutdowns, they could not afford to go out and buy anything else. The state and local governments tried to help people in dire need of assistance by providing some vocational training, educational opportunities, some level of affordable housing, and some assistance with health care. The previous second wave of lockdowns, purportedly due to the health crisis, really caused an involuntary economic exodus of small businesses on a scale never seen before. Those business closures has had a devastating effect on Main Street economics, specifically the mom and pop stores. However, some major corporate businesses are still in operation while others have long since declared bankruptcy left and right. Restaurants with no drive-through had taken quite a beating while the major fast foods are made a killing. But there was no substantial wave of stimulus for these small businesses. Most of them did not survive this second time around, especially when the riots, lootings, and burnings happened. Some small businesses survived the onslaught of riots, lootings, and burnings that occurred, but others were not so lucky. Even with the election nonsense behind us and a new president administration, things are still in a state of attempting to recover. In conclusion, instead of entirely relying on the government to solve these problems, we should take matters into our own hands with prudence and spiritual guidance based on experience, understanding, knowledge, wisdom, maturity, and responsibility towards society. Things will not be better unless we collectively take a stand based upon clear, definitive principles and well-planned implementation of solutions to solving these economic problems created by this health crisis. Beyond small and big businesses, we must address the societies that we live in and should desire a change for the betterment, where everyone is concerned with this health crisis looming over everything. First of all, urbanization, polarization, structural income inequality, globalization, human movement, and demographic shifts are known every day in societies around the world. Paradoxically, while technology has gotten us together, surveys reveal that we seem progressively isolated and have the feeling of we don't belong in our societies, both personal and digital. This is now increasingly the way in different parts of the world. How might the change who becomes included, who becomes excluded, who has force, who determines, and who doesn't, and where philanthropic dollars are allocated? Second, societies are no longer entirely dependent upon the location to create their identity, change their beliefs, and develop meaning, and, as such, are subject to the dynamic that moves beyond local restraints. When a large proportion of people in the region have contacts and acquaintances across the world, what makes them think part of the nation is the sense of ethics, thoughts, and concerns that come under human values. We all, certainly, want when the politicians in charge of our present reality push government that's possible to negatively impact the people we do live in, make our cities more hostile, or put more social pressures on the fragmented demographics that each nation today features. And finally, third, societies today have to evolve a social strategy that involves utilizing small-scaled institutions and economies for empowerment. Societies seek to empower themselves to determine their own future, especially based on prioritization and accountability in their local economic and political structures. Societies should enable themselves to exercise power over their own existence, providing for their own necessities, allocating people and resources necessary to sustain themselves, and make localized governmental decisions that deal with concerning issues that are of the utmost importance to them. They should also build internal networking coalitions of neighborhood groups to maintain a social order of stability to their existing economic and political structures. By utilizing their networks, they can efficiently and effectively provide better educational systems, environmental stewardship, crime prevention, sustainable growth and use of resources, and entrepreneurial opportunities, especially during this health crisis. Globalization and diversity are not the problem, but the ever-manipulative, political divide and conquer propaganda stratagem that is continually implemented. The true socioeconomic political powers that be are somewhat hidden physically from the public line of sight, but anyone who is truly in the know can see and feel the current adverse effects of the political policies emanating from such powers have had on nations around the world in a true game of command and conquer. We are currently living our lives in this matrix reality game of command and conquer because the circumstances that now surrounds us is seemingly encroaching more and more of our liberties away. However, there are some global grassroots movements trying to push for a change in the right direction. Some are more enlightened than others and know what solutions must be taken in consideration to solve the current problems that now plagues us. Ultimately, the future belongs to all of us and we must take it for ourselves, because truly there is no fate but what we make for ourselves. And finally, in concluding this presentation, I suggest be mindful of everything happening around you. Seek out the truth of what is really going on in the world from the perspective of what you know as reliable sources of truth. Use every legitimate advantage to better yourself and surround yourself with like-minded people. Live your own life on your own terms with an attitude of gratitude that manifests only what you need to keep you in the right direction of where you need to be. I hope this video presentation was informative and insightful. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. If you have any comments and suggestions, please leave them in the comments section. I thank you for taking the time to watch this video, but until next time, have a great rest of your day.